Okay, so now, as I said, we are going to create a new project and everything, including the codes and the pipelines, we are going to use Azure services as much as possible and some of the free services. Uh, let's begin with Azure DevOps, and on this page, as you can see, we can start for free to use the Azure DevOps services. Let's click this button and register a new organization. It doesn't really matter which country you would select, but let's call it Pizza Selector. That looks good, and host all of the projects in Europe, and put this captcha. And it will create a new organization for us with some of the services already enabled, and we should be able to begin. So we have an organization Pizza Selector, and now we need to create a new project. Let's call it again Pizza Selector. By default, it's private. It is possible to select them to be publicly available, but let's stick to private for now. And when the project is created, by default, you can see that there are a lot of different options available, like boards, where we can just have different tasks assigned repos that we are going to use quite extensively, and it will be the host for all of our repositories and code. Pipelines, where we would have our pipelines created, obviously, and here we will have all of the build pipelines and the deployment pipelines for everything. Test plans, which can be used by testers to assign tasks, how to test different applications, and have some metrics. And finally, the last one is artifacts, where it is possible to publish different build artifacts, or to have a mirror of NPM or Maven or any other publicly available source. But for now, let's focus on initial setup of this project. And what we need to do is to create a couple of service connections. In order to do that, you would need to go to project settings and to service connections. As you can see, initially it's empty and we don't have any service connections at all. And what I want to have is to have a service connection to our Azure subscription. So we would be able to run our infrastructure code and do the deployments to our web applications. And another service connection that we will need to create, it's for the Docker, because in this exercise I wanted to save our images, and maybe I'm going a little bit too fast with this, but spoiler alert, we are going to create a code, and we are going to wrap it into the Docker image and publish it to the container registry. It is possible to use Azure container registries, but for now I wanted to stick to Docker and just Docker Hub, and show how to do it that way. So first, let's create a service connection to Azure, and this one actually is very simple. So we select Azure Resource Manager, and here there are a lot of options, but I will pick the service principal automatic right now. If you already connected to Azure and have enough permissions in that subscription, it will create a new service principal on a subscription level with rights to the whole subscription, and you don't need to do anything else. Obviously, it will ask for passwords to authenticate ourselves, and yeah, I have Azure subscription. It's a free trial one, and it is already ready. You can call it as you want, and the name of the service connection will be used later in the pipelines. You don't need to select the resource group if you want to have access to the whole subscription, or you can limit yourself only to a given resource group optionally. And that's pretty much it to create the Azure Service Connection that way. But sometime, and in most of the organizations, you wouldn't have that kind of luxury. At least I would say that it's not a really good practice where usual users or have that level of access to the whole subscription, so they can create service principals that way. And more often than not, that will be limited, and we would need to create it in a different way. And I will show how that can be done. So once again, we select Azure Resource Manager, and in here we now select the manual way of creation. Once again, it will be for the Azure Cloud, and it will be for the subscription. And now we would need to provide some additional details, like what will be the subscription ID to which we want to connect, how it is called, what is the service principal ID, what its key, or it is possible to authenticate using a certificate, and what is the tenant ID. In order to do that, I will jump to portal, and the easiest way to create a new service principal that way, it's actually described on this document, so you can Google how to create a service principal and get the Microsoft documentation. What we will need is this command to create a new service principal. And to run it, it's very easy to run it in a Cloud Shell. You can connect to Azure using CLI from your local machine in terminal, or run it in a PowerShell, or any other way. But that one is pretty simple. It will ask for the first time when you do it to create a new storage account. But if it was already done, then you can just paste this name and give it some descriptive name and press enter. It will create a new service principal. Now we need to be careful because this password, it is generated only on the fly and it is not saved anywhere. So we would need to copy it immediately, otherwise we would lose it. But we can already start copy pasting stuff into Azure DevOps and get it connected. So it's super easy to copy tenant ID and a password and the application ID from that output. That's what we are doing now. And then we would need to just have a subscription name and subscription ID. Once again, the easiest way to do it is to go to one of the existing resources, and there you would have both the subscription ID and the subscription name that you can copy, or you can copy it from some other place. I prefer to do it that way just for simplicity. Okay, now let's click on verify and check it. Verification successful, so we have a new connection. It's not saved yet, so we can have it created with a different name. Let's use the name of the service principal. Once again, it will ask to verify and save, and if everything is good, it will be saved. What we will need to do on top of that is to assign some credentials to this roles to this service principal, because by default with this command it was created without any access to anything. And I have my dev resource group over here, and I will assign the owner rights to this service principal so it can access the system. In order to do that, we click on role assignment, add new role assignment, and we'll go to privileged roles. We'll select the owner, and it will be assigned to the service principal, and the member would be that newly created my development service principal. We will select it, and after that we will allow this service principal to be very privileged, and it will have basically the full rights over this one resource group. With this we can review and assign, and that will be it. The next one that we wanted to do is to create a connection to the Docker Hub. For that, we go to the Docker register. I register as a new user, and we will need to choose the Docker subscription. The personal one is free, and it allows us to have unlimited number of public repositories where we can publish our images. So let's use this one, and we will need to verify the email address. Let me do that offline. And after the email is verified, we can create a new repository. Let's click on it, and it will ask to create a new repository. Let's call it pizza selector UI. And it will be the public one. It is still possible to create a private repository, but we don't need to do that. So let's create a new repository like this. It will ask to add the categories and description. It is possible to do this later, but what we want to do right now is to have access to this repository from Azure DevOps. In order to create access to Docker Hub, we would need to generate a new token, and it is done from the profile, my account, and security. It is possible to create a new access token, so let's do that. The access token would be for the DevOps, and it is possible to read, write, and delete, so it's a big one. And once again, don't forget to copy this token immediately because it wouldn't be available afterwards. With that token copied, and go to Azure DevOps once again, create a new service connection. We will select the Docker Hub. It will be Docker Hub, so this Docker registry stays as is. The password will be the copied token that we have as the username. It's actually over here. Once again, it's the name of the user, the pizza selector for me. Email, it's optional, so we can verify, and if everything is good, then we once again will give a name for the service connection and save it. With this, we have all of the service connections that we need for our pipelines, and soon I will show you how we are going to use them. Thank you.